Okay, let's continue. We're in the middle of Shemiras Shabbos. We had a fascinating dive into the scrub daddy in the previous year. That was an exciting moment in life. Hope everyone was Yitzhak their Shalom Bayis and bought their wife a new sponge. L'kovid Sunday, not L'kovid Shabbos Kodesh. And with that, we move on to Sif Tes Zayin. Sif Tes Zayin. Sif Tes Zayin. Just to remind ourselves that we spoke about two isurim of schita, the schita raisa, schita rabbanan of synthetic, of hair. Tes Zayin speaks out, ein l'nakot kelim b'mishcham yez l'kach. This hopefully won't continue our emotional trend of the day. You're not allowed to clean kalim with mishcha. What's mishcha? Mishcha is like a spread, where that's miur l'kach. What? I don't believe so. I don't know what mineral oil is using to clean your kalim. I don't know what you're doing. No. He's talking about an isser mimarech. He's talking about smoothing things down, as we'll see in a moment. Not a soft soap. Now, the difference in these three types of soap are difficult. We mentioned last time how the practical Kabbalah is that most item is not makbid on Ramesh's Gezerah on liquid soap, but there are those that try to dilute it in order to be. There are three different consistencies. That's pashtas, pourable and soft and whatnot. But nozli is pourable, is runny. Yeah. Mutter listom sif yizayin. Again, this is really a first cause of what we spoke about prior, is that you're not allowed to smooth something down. So if it is thin, then you could use it. But if it's not, then you cannot. Now the truth is, just for 1 second, he sends us to Parak Yudalit Ara Memtes. So if you want for a moment to glance over there, in Yudalit Ara Memtes, he speaks out that over there he's discussing Memareach, Hashimush B'Sabon. So that's really the first cousin of this halacha. If you look over there, he says Zabon Rach Ishu Memarech. Because soft soap has Memarech, you're smoothing it down. Yudalid Memtes. Hara Memtes is going to the halacha of Shimush Sabon, and that's what he's talking about over there. This is where the discussion comes out of toothpaste. The halacha toothpaste is a problem. The pashtus is a bar of soap is a problem, and anything thick like toothpaste, the pashtus is an issue. Are there other shitas? Perhaps, but that is what the Shemiras Shabbos, our middle of learning, is going with. Sif Yud Zayin. You're allowed to plug up the place where water comes out of the kiyar, the sink, or other areas, bipakak, with a cork. You're allowed to put a cork in the bottom of your sink so you can wash your kelim. You make your sink into a bowl. You're allowed to put a type of like filter, like a resha, like the bottom of your drain. It's in the drain. Al makibza. We spoke of this in the world of Bayer. Vein misham iser breira. B'mashab psilis ha'ava. The thicker psilis nisharis b'shal kach. P'tei chamich. So this is a sink insert that holds back the garbage and lets the water go through. All he's saying here is this is not an issue of Bayer, which we've learned. If you look at our Memtes, he says here Zalmin. What's the reason? You're not separating. Everything's going into the garbage. You're just going to take that and put it in the garbage, and the water is going to go down the drain. You just don't want to get your sink plugged up, and that's the reason why there is no bayer. You're just separating within the garbage, and he's saying that is not going to be an issue. That's the first half of Siviyat Zayin, and he continues. You're allowed to pour out the water. Similar type of utensil. Again, you want to just hold back the garbage. Then you're allowed to take that which you gathered and empty that out into the garbage. He's just saying that every stage here is mutter. Don't think that what's the stuff that's in the garbage, you can't move that. Keep and throw that out. Regarding emptying out the garbage, that's a different sugya. One day we will get to. In Hara Nun and Aleph, he points out that the reason why you're allowed to take out this sifter thingy is because of, as we spoke about in the previous Ara, Shem Zalman says no buyers, everything's going in the garbage, you're just separating between different types of garbage. In Nun Aleph, he says the reason why you're allowed to empty out this thing from in the sink is because of graf shel rei. Stam, the world of muktzah, if you think about it, inside this little sink insert is just garbage. So I'm allowed to pick that up and throw it out. It's like there, graf shel rei, it's disgusting, it's stopping up the place, etc., etc. He says, Amna vadi shish lasa lishwa chazmei hashtifa shemereves b'hem sheirit oichel v'atzamot shenimsam b'hem gam kapiot mishum iser breira. It's aser. If there's also kapiot, there's also spoons inside, as you have all the garbage in the world, but now you have something good. So now, let's say you have a whole somebody have a basin, you pump all the dishes inside, it rinses it off, right? And then you want to pour that through your sink insert to hold back the garbage. Saying, but let's say in this big basin you have a spoon. Then it's usher. Why? Because as it pours it through, it holds back the spoon. And of course, that would be bayr. Interesting hara. Maybe. I mean, a regular spoon would fit down the drain. It might get stuck halfway in the thing, but you definitely are. There's a maila in the insert with it. But if not, that would be an interesting hara. Yor ches nistam kir amayim. Yeah. It comes a point. That is a good hara. It comes with the plate itself, right? Yeah. Nistam kir amayim. If the sink gets stopped up, now this is a fascinating halacha. And I'm sure the plumbers or the aspiring plumbers amongst us are going to help us in this one. Nistar, you're not an aspiring plumber? Right, that's why you're an aspiring plumber. There you go. Nistam kiramayim. So what do you do when your sink gets plugged up? Some people waste money calling down a plumber. Other people, what do? You take a plunger and you plunge. It doesn't work. You get a snake. Where do you get a snake from? You borrow a snake. You rent a snake. You buy a snake. You make a snake. You figure it out. What are you wasting money? Time to save some cash, and then you can sit and learn Torah. So this of Kira Amai. So it says Allah. What if your sink gets stopped up? Mutter. I give share. Mutter. I'm here giving share. What's going on in my house? Hopefully, so take care of the stuffed up sink. Mutter lenakaisai. You're allowed to clean it out. Be'ezras mash'ivas gumi basis. What's that? That's like a type of plunger, type of matziv, v'loy shel uman, and not a professional one. When it's cold. Now this is a little bit of a difficult halacha because nowadays there are many people that have snakes in their house. The same as and similar halacha is by a stuffed up toilet. So let's look at Ha'aron and Beis. And Ha'aron and Beis, he explains that it's Masha Deinu Motor Al Klachayad. Sounds like it's only Motor Klachayad, meaning only in a not a direct manner. V'yishleimar, Tistimas Kimer Deimer Lebakbuk Shenistam Savarov. It's like a bottle that the hole is plugged up. You're allowed to take it out. He's saying that as a din of a kli. Even if it's mechuber lekarka. So he's saying a big chiddush over here in the world of baina, saying even though your toilet or your sink is connected to the ground, it doesn't have a din of karka, and therefore to get rid of the plug, that would be allowed. That's what he's saying, as long as it's done in a household manner. He says, and he has a right from Tafkov test, getting rid of it is not tikkun mana. And again, as you can see from the size of this footnote, this is a lengthy discussion. I'm just looking. I'm just looking to see if there's. Okay, let's. Lamaisa, a household plunger, and things like that is going to be mutter, and the Lundus is going to be that it's not called broken. Ach Mekivan, what does he say? Even in a house, one el b'shatz chag magsar gadol. Yeah, he's explaining the reason why in our law is only makos har gadol because the ma'isa, it's a large machlekes. At what point it becomes a proper stoppage? I'm going to use a toilet, which is a very similar example. There's something called a plunger, and a plunger, one would say that's some households that's the way you use the toilet is you use the toilet, and a plunger you take rid of the issue. In other households, the plunger is a never used item. And that might have to do with what you're putting in the toilet, and it might have to do with your plumbing system. However, what we're saying over here is that a regular stoppage, you're allowed to remove in a regular manner as long as you're not doing it in umandika manner. I'll point out if no, so that's what he's being bachalik. He's saying that to use a snake is a maisa uman. That's what he wants to say. That a snake is more of a uman dika maisa, which we can understand. Again, I understand there's something called a household snake that people have, and that might be different. But let's say a plunger versus snake. I'm keeping it like that. So then you're like half of the world that just wastes money calling the plunger. They could have taken the plunger. Yeah, okay. Right. People call to put up a nail. People I saw whatever Pesach. Okay, let's not get into discussion, but the point of the story is what he's being makel over here is he says Sairach Gadol in a household way is mutter, and the footnote he's pointing out. Oh, so let me explain. Good, let me explain. The reason is because there's two things going on over here. There's a sugya of bain and seiser. The something bain and seiser is when something is connected to a house that's broken. When you fix it, it's very very chomer. It's playing with the deraisa. The example we like to give is if a tile moves on the floor. If you just move the tile back with your foot and you make the tsura the way that it is, that's an iser deraisa. So a toilet's b'chaber karka. So Pash just putting up a shelf. Now, these are very big machlaikisim. It doesn't have to have the tsura of the binyan. Maybe once it's a toilet is a tsura of a keli. That's what he's trying to say, that it keeps the status of a keli. And that's in the world of binyan. Then you have the world of the dechol. Of the dechol means it's a choldik action, which are gzeir derabbanans, which are always hard to quantify where they apply. So some Zalman over here is taking a little bit of a middle stance, which often we find, and that is that if it's a normal household mannerism of doing it, he's willing to be makel. But even in that, now I believe, I don't think this is a secret, is that if it's a regular stoppage, that's simple plunging, I don't think anyone's going to say that's a problem. That's a little bit extreme. So about a sink over here, just be careful. Sinks are a little bit more hairy when they get plunged up. It's a little bit more of a big deal. It's usually not such a simple thing, but that's how we'll leave it. Is that the regular plunger, the pashtus is mutter. When you start pulling out the snake, that's more of an avdechol, and a pashtus should be avoided. Is there a makkah to be makel if using a snake in certain scenarios? Maybe the answer would be pashtus to have a guy do it. Household plunger in a toilet, the pashtus is going to be okay. Pashtus even without a slayer gadol. Now, if it comes a point, even within the world of plungers in toilets, there comes a point that it's a simple job. It comes a point that it's a ganza avoida. Even though you could get it out with a plunger, but it's you're working on it for 20 minutes. Yeah, at that point, many would suggest that it might get to the point of the chol, and it might get worse than that. In Mirza Shem, I think there's another footnote. I could not find it on the moment. Mirza, tomorrow we'll pick up this point. I think there's another footnote that he talks about this more at length. Siyata Dishmaya.